Welcome to Plant-Based Eating for Health with your host, certified plant-based nutritionist, Kathleen Gage.
Well, I am just so excited. Tania, this is really exciting what you're doing. And I would love for you to give people a little background on, first of all, your HR consulting services, the membership program that you're launching or you have launched, and your ethical-careers.com. So, Tania, go ahead. Share with people about your background.
Wow, quite a lot to cover there. So I run the UK's first HR consultancy, primarily designed for vegan and ethical businesses and charities. So I set the organisation up basically because I wanted to provide an ethical HR consultancy for vegan and ethical businesses, and there wasn't anything out there. They're basically in the UK, we have lots of really big organisations, but they're not ethical in so many ways because they're very risk averse. They don't like basically giving advice which could lead then to an employment tribunal. They're very much, they're very much all about protecting themselves, and we do protect ourselves. We don't do it in the same way. Basically, we're all about giving best practice, and what we do as a HR consultancy really does help the employer achieve their employment law goals by using best practice, which is basically translating employment law into everyday life of having employees in an organization. And employment law in the UK is quite complex, and we don't expect our clients to know employment law inside and out like we do. That's our job, that's why we exist. But it's worth noting that employers if they attempt to deal with employment issues and don't comply to employment law correctly, there could be a claim made against them by the employee. So we completely take that burden away through our HR consultancy service. The other thing we run at the moment is, we're doing a soft launch for, is we are going to have a membership area for our clients. Mm-hmm. So that is basically designed so that we can give best practice advice. We can give employment law updates, obviously employment tips. We can give so much information basically to startup organisations. And here in the UK, startups are just very small organisations with no funding at all or little funding. And then basically they can get access to all this information without having the need to have an in-house HR person or pay obviously consultancy fees. So that's a little bit about the membership area. And then alongside that, I have a business partner, and we run ethical-careers.com. It's a small UK-based website designed for ethical businesses. A lot of my own businesses advertise on there, and it's designed to help link like-minded people to employers, basically, for remote work, self-employed work, full-time work, permanent work, part-time work. It's all there. Excellent. And we've got about 15,000 candidates, I think, on the site. So it's a really big platform. We're getting sign-ups to 20 to 50 a day of candidates. So it's really popular.
That's incredible. Well, let's take a step back and let's talk about when you became a vegan. You started as a vegetarian and then you became a vegan. What was your driving force for becoming vegan? Was it health? Was it ethics? Was it the animals?
Yeah, so it was health actually, because I was studying for my HR qualification, which here in the UK is called a CIPD. And I was studying, I had back-to-back exams, and I basically overdosed on dairy. So it was just chocolate and pizza for 3 weeks, and I was extremely ill, ended up in hospital. And basically I realized, because I was talking to the nurse there, that actually it is, an intolerance to dairy. And I was already vegetarian, so I just cut it out. I didn't eat eggs anyway, and didn't really drink milk. So that was how I came to that conclusion. And then later on in life, it came about the animals, and now it's about the environment for me. It's about helping my clients in particular be more ethical and think along the lines of, in their workplace, what can they do to make, quite a lot of changes. So being vegan, obviously it's very easy to fall into a trap of just buying something because you need it. And we try to educate our clients at the same time we're talking to them about buying, ethically and thinking about its impact on the environment. So when you can't have a vegan home, you can't have a vegan workplace all the time, but you can certainly do your best to get to that point. because we can't control what goes into computers
Absolutely.
and things like that, but you can control your own buying by deciding, I'm going to buy that bin made out of cardboard rather than buying a bin made out of plastic. And it's thinking along those lines. So we share pieces of information like that with our clients all the time. Any hints and tips how to improve the workplace and make it more sustainable, basically.
That's wonderful. And it's so interesting because I actually started For Health in 2018, and it didn't take long before I really connected the dots on the animal compassion. And what's interesting is I was working within the pet industry quite a bit at the time. I was doing a lot of keynote speaking and training and consulting. And for some reason, I had that major disconnect, which I think a lot of people do. So what you're doing is so important with organizations. And I'm curious, where do you see you're getting quite a few signups from people looking for work within the vegan and plant-based industry? Where do you see the marketplace going from the trends that you've noticed as far as business growth and as far as people really finding jobs that align with their values as a vegan?
Well, a couple of years ago, we had a website called veganjobs.online. And the reason why we set up was because we get inundated with candidates saying, where can I find a vegan job? Where can I find an ethical job? And that was the reason for that. And so that was 2 years ago. And then we decided to branch out and create a space for ethical businesses to advertise as well. Because here in the UK, there wasn't anything like that. And it's really interesting to see the changes. Now, I've been recruiting for the Vegan Society here in the UK for the last 3 years. And initially, it was really hard to find vegans looking for work because people didn't actively advertise themselves as vegan. They were just, on a general website with their profile up there. And there was no sort of vegan connection. So what I did with, working with the Vegan Society, we created almost like a vegan job brand out there in the marketplace. So people would associate us with vegan recruitment, but also then they would just, obviously attract more individuals or like-minded individuals to the Vegan Society. And then we just sort of rolled that out to all our clients. And it was putting on the advert. We are looking for like-minded people to work for our organisation. We are a vegan organisation, and that put a lot of vegetarians off, but also obviously meat eaters as well. Because we found that when we work with vegan businesses, it's really hard for a vegetarian as well as a meat eater to fit into that organisation. And we found that those individuals didn't last very long. So I think really generally the marketplace is, as we know, is growing. Here in the UK, we've got aisles of vegan products. We've got, a Tesco's, a big supermarket here, have just pledged that they will they will increase their stock by, exactly what they're doing with the meat, they're going to have an equivalent meat product to a vegan product. And that is because of the work that the Vegan Society have been doing here in the UK. They've been working really hard on the supermarkets, because once the supermarkets change, everything else follows.
Absolutely.
And, we've seen tremendous growth from an organisation called Brewdog. I don't know if you've come across them. They are basically a beer brand. They didn't market themselves as a beer brand a vegan beer brand when they launched. They just said, we're great beer. And then it uncovered that they were vegan because they were worried if they got into the marketplace, as a vegan brand, they wouldn't stay. So it was very clever marketing. And now they've seen 1,080% growth in the last year of their products because people are ordering online now. And I think yesterday they opened their first pub in Mumbai. And they've got more basically being opened across the world. They're just huge growth, and they're a Scottish brand over here. So I think we're seeing so much investment as well. We're lucky here that George Gill, who used to be the CEO of the Vegan Side, he's moved over to another organisation, which is an investment fund organisation, and basically because of that, we're going to see tremendous growth because he's really successful in what he does. And once that wealth management is out there, there's going to be more opportunities for smaller organizations. But like as I said earlier, there is limited funding at the moment unless it comes from the government. It's not like the way it is with the US with the funding, unfortunately. But it will come.
Absolutely.
It will grow, and we're seeing an abundance of individuals applying for vegan jobs at the moment. You know, it's
and I
it's
want to
amazing.
touch on what you would give as tips for people looking for jobs online. But before I do, I want to remind people that this is Kathleen Gage with Plant-Based Eating for Health podcast show, and I'm talking with Tania De Bruler. And Tania is an HR specialist. She runs the gamut of what she does for HR professionals, and has launched a new membership program where she actually provides solutions for HR specialists so that you don't have to hire somebody in your company, especially if you're a startup. And I also want to remind people that if you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe, click the like button and give it a thumbs up, because that helps it to go out into cyberspace. And Tania, I'm curious, when somebody is looking for a job online, because I know it's very, very competitive, people send in their resume and it kind of gets lost in the shuffle and they get that standard, hey, thanks for the, it's not quite like that, but thank you for submitting your resume, but we've picked somebody else, or, you know, we'll consider you, whatever it may be. How do people stand out and really shine when they're sending in their resume or they're looking for jobs online? Would they go to LinkedIn and connect with people in the company? Would they just submit their resume? Would they send in a video? What are your tips and tricks?
I personally say do everything you can, expose yourself, be out there so that you are connected as well as you're recognized by everybody. So firstly, I would consider or recommend reviewing your LinkedIn profile and then connecting with over 50 individuals per day. I would not recommend spamming anybody, sending a DM to anybody, because they will only talk to you if they want to talk to you, but you definitely need your profile out there, because employers now are really savvy. They will Google you, they will go on LinkedIn, and they will check your recommendations on there. And if you haven't got any recommendations on there, or if your skills aren't on there, they will wonder why. They'll be suspicious, because everybody who's in the professional market is used in LinkedIn. It's just one of those things that's commonplace now. Also, what a lot of the trap that individuals fall into when they apply for jobs is if it asks for an application form and it says CVs won't be accepted, CVs will not be accepted. You will go in the bin. And if you're going to fill out an application form, there's always an area, a section on there, which is usually about 500 words or 700 words, where you can sell yourself. That's where you must make sure you read the job description and read the person's specification. And once you've got that basically in your head, you can then translate it into your own experience and then jot that down on there. If you don't do that section, again, you go in the bin. Unfortunately, it is that cutthroat at the moment. We in the UK, we have lots of recruitment websites where you can upload your application, your CV, and you can also register with lots of recruitment agencies here. Recruitment agencies are fantastic. They do find you work. And I think there's a lot of misconception here about how good recruitment agencies are, but they are amazing. I've worked with them to recruit people, but I've also been a candidate of theirs as well. And I've had a great successful career through working with recruitment agencies, finding me work. So your CV, there's loads of hints and tips you can get online regarding a CV, but the most important thing is you have your contact details and your LinkedIn details, your LinkedIn URL at the top of your CV. You must have a profile summary that's written in third party. You also need to have your experience as well and your qualifications, and get rid of things that aren't of interest, like to the employer anymore. Hobbies and interests, you can find that on your LinkedIn profile. References don't need to be on there. It needs to be 2 pages, 3 pages at the most, and ideally have a section as well. Sorry, going back up to the top of the page, have a section about your skill set, basically. So a bullet point of 10 skills that you're specialist at.
Excellent.
They're the main things.
And I want to remind people, this is Kathleen Gage with Plant-Based Eating for Health. I'm talking with Tania De Bruler. And Tania, how do people get in touch with you? What's your main website or your LinkedIn profile? Where would you like people to go to get more information on what you do?
Well, we are obviously very active on LinkedIn. You can find us Specialized HR. We literally are the only company on there called Specialized HR. We have a website called specializedhr.co.uk. And we are on Facebook, but we're more active on Instagram than we are on Facebook. So
excellent,
you can, excellent. But also if you go on Google, Vegan HR Consultancy under the UK, you'll find us that way.
Excellent. We'll be sure to put all that in the show notes. So If you were to give 3 tips to somebody who is actually going to, they need HR skills and they need that within their company, what are the top 3 tips that you have for startup organizations?
So the most important thing for a startup is to make sure the person that's going to be looking after your employees is a natural leader, not a manager. So there's obviously a bit of difference between the two. A natural leader is someone that can talk to people naturally and get the best out of them. So more like someone from a consultative approach. I would also say someone who has a keen interest in doing everything right, whether it's health and safety or HR or accountancy, anything basically legislative. You need to make sure there's somebody in that organization that is competent at ticking those boxes. I would also say as well is you need somebody that specializes in social media. We've been really successful on, getting clients, especially through LinkedIn, because we have somebody, a vegan LinkedIn specialist, basically, that works on our LinkedIn every day. So, the content is out there because of them. They're really, really good. We also do our own content for us individuals as well that work in the organization. And also I would say that, bear in mind, it depends on how you're starting your organization, but if you tell people you're a sole trader or freelancer and you want to basically be getting large organizations, it's quite hard here in the UK to get those sorts of clients unless you represent yourself as an organization. It's a trap that a lot of people get into, and they don't realize that it's being a freelancer. An organization that wants to appoint a freelancer generally doesn't look for a freelancer. They would look for a specialist in this field, and they would hope that you come with an organization behind you, because then they know you're insured, then they know you've got best practice, then they know you've got terms and conditions. They need that confidence. So if you're acting as a sole trader, as a startup, I would consider how you approach, whether you use your own name or whether you want to use a company name. That's something that a lot of people forget about. And I've seen it now. I've been watching over the years the difference between the two. People that have gone out there and launched a business as a sole trader and told people they're a freelance or sole trader, compared to people that have set up themselves up as an organization, but they're still just them. And there's a tremendous difference, and one is more successful than the other.
Go into more detail on that, because that's fascinating to hear that, because as a consultant, that's important information to me. So when I approach an organization and let's say I'm going to help them with their visibility by way of podcast interviews, because that's actually what I do. Yeah. And when I approach the organization, what would be the best approach?
The best approach would be ensuring that, first of all, everything goes through your work email. You have a work phone number. You have everything set up basically that is almost detracts away from your name, unless you're I don't know, Victoria Beckham, and you go by your name. It doesn't, here in the UK, it's not as successful. If you have, so for instance, when I started out my career as Tania De Bruler, I was not successful until I launched specialized HR solutions behind me. And that was the sort of thinking behind it. And then I've mentored lots of vegan businesses over the years, and the ones that aren't as successful are the ones that don't have that organization backup. So for instance, there's an expectation that you as a consultant would especially be talking on a work email, an email that's your domain. A lot of my colleagues or people I work with use their, say, Gmail, or they might use Yahoo, and that to a potential client doesn't look very professional. I don't enjoy working with people that have a Gmail, and don't have a website that is an email that's the same domain. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So I think, but if you were doing what you're doing, as do you currently have an organization behind you?
Oh, yes.
I guess exactly. So you're successful because of that, probably because of that reason as well, not just because it's you and people buy you. It's because they believe you're going to be around for a long time, because you've got a lot to lose. You've got all this kind of weight around you. And whereas if you were a sole trader and just, or freelancing, it's literally, you can just walk away tomorrow, can't you? But when you've got an organization, it's a lot harder. So there's more trust in organizations than there is in individuals.
Wow.
And that's generally what we find here.
That's great information. And on the flip side, if somebody is looking for a job, now we talked about organizations that should have an HR presence. Let's say somebody's in the job market. What are 3 top tips that you can give to them? You mentioned about reaching out. Did you say to 50 people a day? Is that just to connect with them, or is that to let them know you're looking for work? What are the top 3 things that a job seeker can do to really stand apart from the competition?
So yes, it is 50 or more than 50 per day, and it's not a lot of work, because you just go on, you search on LinkedIn for who you want to connect with, CEOs, for instance, managing directors. You would just connect, and you would just connect and do that. It takes 10 minutes in the morning, because a lot of people won't connect with you, or they'll take a lot of time to connect with you, and by then they've missed a chance, or you've missed a chance to connect with them. So I'd recommend that is one of the most important things, but also using LinkedIn, knowing how to use LinkedIn. You need to be an expert in your field, no matter whether you're working for someone else or you're working for yourself. In order to get clients on LinkedIn, you must be an expert in that field. You must provide content that people are looking for, and you must comment, share, and like with influencers. And the minute you do that, you'll get recognized, whether and they will contact you if you're looking for work, but or potentially, if they need to fill a role. But what I would say is, a lot of people are putting open for work. I don't know if you're looking for work on their profile, and it's like a green circle underneath there. That doesn't actually work. It's quite off-putting for employers,
right?
Because it's basically publicizing you're unemployed.
Exactly.
And you don't need to, you need to conceal that fact somehow, that you're unemployed. You need to be desired.
Yes, I'm glad to hear you say that. It's kind of like going to the bar and you're single and you're desperate and it's the 11th hour and you're like, oh, who am I going to grab? But I'm really glad to hear you say that, because I've seen that and I thought that doesn't look too appealing. However, hiring, I've actually a little tip that I've implemented that has worked quite well, because I'm bidding on some pretty big contracts right now where they say we're hiring. What I do is I go and research the company. First of all, I look for the vegan sign. I look for the little green leaf, or I look for the V, and because I want to work with vegan organizations. And so then what I do is I research the company, I research the CEO, all the top brass, and I'll reach out to them and I'll say, oh, I see that you're hiring. What positions are you hiring for? And it's incredible how simple it is to start that conversation. And I'm bidding on one contract right now it could be a 6-figure contract for a year with one company. And that's just one contract. And it all came from noticing they were hiring. I did my research. I reached out and we started having conversations. I put the initial proposal together, and the CEO was like, I've never seen anything quite like this. I mean, it was like a very detailed proposal. And he said, send me the contract. And it's like, okay, we can do that. So, I think that people do need to get a little more creative than just applying for jobs and hoping for the best, but really putting themselves out there. And I loved what you said about 50 connections a day. Now, when people connect, should they put a personal message with that, or should they just click the connect, or what's your recommendation there?
So you have to bear in mind that people go on LinkedIn, they're going on there to look for work, or, they're going on there to advertise what they do. They're not going on there to sift through a lot of spammed messages.
Okay.
So the minute you do that, you've got a 50% chance of either getting to them at the right time, or them disconnecting from you or deleting you. So harsh as it is, unfortunately, people don't have the time to read those messages. They know you want to connect by the pure action of connecting. You don't need to tell them that you're connecting as well. So, spamming is not good on LinkedIn, and I wish there was some way to control it, because I get, spammed 50 times a day.
Oh, and you can tell when it's a spam. You can tell when it's a cut and paste.
You've got lots of bots as well, haven't you, on LinkedIn?
Oh my gosh, it's crazy. But another thing that I've done that has worked quite well is when I find a company that I really want to do business with and I know that I can benefit them. I think that's the key right there too, is knowing that you can create benefit for the company, and it's about serving at the highest level. And what I've actually done is I've put videos together where I put it's a video just for that person. I do it unlisted on YouTube. I send it to whoever the person is that I'm trying to connect with. The response I've gotten from that has been phenomenal. Now, the key to that though, and I'd love your opinion on this, is you have to be good on video, because if somebody's sitting there going, I would really like to connect, that's not going to fly. But if you go, hey, George, I saw you're listing that you're looking for somebody in social media marketing. I happen to have a lot of experience with that. I'm also a vegan, which I love the fact that your company is vegan based, yada, yada, yada. And the response I've gotten has been phenomenal. So what are some other tips that you've got on either side of the fence?
Okay, so if you're looking for work, then I would recommend you don't contact the employer directly and send a CV. That again is spam. So send an email, say, hi, I'm looking for work. They will just put you in the bin. Again, it's because of data protection here in the UK. You can't keep hold of people's information for long as, for any reason, basically, unless you've got their consent. So that will probably go in the bin. I would also say as well is make sure on your LinkedIn profile that you've got, hey, this is exactly what I can do for you. But you also, if you've got recommendations on there, showcase those recommendations and get someone to do you a video of all your recommendations. I've hardly got, to be honest, I've hardly got any videos myself because I get someone else to do it, and we just use content for on our videos. There's lots of different ways of doing it. But for an employer, for someone, basically an organization, there is so much you can do. You don't have to be that face on there unless you're representative of your business. And I'm not representative of my business. My business is bigger than me. I have people that work with me. I don't want to necessarily be the face of the organization, because if I was, I would get even more LinkedIn messages, I'm sure, than what I do now. It's not worth it. I've done that years ago and I learned the lesson. It doesn't get, for me, in what I do, it doesn't get me anywhere. So I guess that's the main thing. But I think tips wise, videos are a must, absolute must. If you can do a quick introduction, even just a very, very short one, just on your LinkedIn profile, say, hi, this is who I am, this is what I do, then they can see how you sound when you connect with someone. They want to know what you sound like. It's just about people buying people again, isn't it? You just need to see that person. If you like the way they sound, you'll probably want to work with them. If you don't, you probably won't. So isn't it better to weed those people out before you start having conversations and go into a Zoom call and waste all that time and realize I don't want to work with them, So I think it's a good way of doing it. But also really important to showcase, even for a startup, if you're a really small startup, I would get people doing reviews for you, whether it's a family friend or someone you've sold to. Even if you've given a freebie to somebody, make sure you get those reviews. An organization is not successful until it's on Google and it's got those reviews, because that is where people are looking, or LinkedIn, obviously, and that's where people are looking, obviously, for your services. There's one or two. They either go on Google or they go on LinkedIn.
Excellent. And I want to remind people, this is Kathleen Gage with Plant-Based Eating for Health podcast show. And I'm talking with Tania De Bruler, who is an HR expert. I mean, obviously from our conversation, I've already learned some really, really valuable tips, which 50 a day, that's amazing. It's like, okay, I've got my work cut out for me. And Tania is with ethical-careers.com and launching a wonderful HR resources membership program, which I encourage you to check it out. We'll put the link in the show notes. And Tania, in closing, what are your final thoughts for people as we move forward in the world with the vegan movement? Because it is a movement, and there are those of us who I always am amused when people say, are you still doing that vegan diet? It's not a diet. This is a lifestyle. Plant-based, that can be a diet, but veganism, it is a mindset, it's a heart set, it's a lifestyle. Where do you see things going, and what's your take on what we can all do to raise awareness around it?
Okay, so I don't think that the market's going to get stagnant at all. I think there's so much more to come. I think we haven't tipped the edge yet. I think there's a lot more going on. I think there's organizations like we were talking about at the beginning of the podcast, Tesco's here in the UK, are, they've taken the biggest leap of faith basically in the vegan market it's incredible what they're doing. And all of these, every vegan organization that was already established 2 years ago is seeing even more growth, because when we went into lockdown and the pandemic hit last March, businesses just went online, and that was it. Boom. It was an explosion. So I see this continuing, to be honest with you. I don't see it, staying still. What I also see as well, there's going to be a lot more individuals that are going to be wanting to look for work in the ethical marketplace, I guess. And we've been recruiting vegans for quite some time now, but especially in the last 3 years. And I would say for employers, if you here in the UK, if you've got a genuine occupational qualification that requires a vegan to do the job, then advertise it. You need to be communicating to those individuals out there what you do as an organization. You want like-minded people. Don't waste your time on people that say, I'm a vegetarian that's going to move across to a vegan lifestyle during their course of employment, because chance of it happening is quite slim. I would also, people that say, if you generally are a vegan organization and people say they're plant-based, then you've got to make the decision whether you need an ethical vegan in that job, or whether, a plant-based person is okay for you. And I wouldn't shy away from advertising for vegans, because at the end of the day, if you need those individuals in your organization to make it successful, then go for it. The Vegan Society have been so strong on this for years, and like I said, we've been helping them recruit vegans for quite some time. And they don't mess around. They are literally cutthroat about it. If they don't fit the bill, they've got to obviously be able to do the job, as well as uphold an ethical lifestyle, because it just doesn't work any other way.
I love that, because actually on my show, if somebody is not 100% vegan, if they consume any animal or dairy products in their diet, they're not on the show. And I've had people that say, well, I'm 95%. It's like, great. When you're 100% and you've been that way for a while and it's really your lifestyle, let's talk. I had one woman that was representing an author that had sold 600,000 books. And she said, do you realize what you're doing? I said, yes, I do. This is my branding. I'm committed to it. I want to raise awareness. So I love what you're saying, because it really is about raising awareness around, the health of it, but truly the compassion to animals and the environment. Yeah. There's so much going on out there that we can't hide away anymore. And I love that you're saying that organizations should be very open about it, as should the people who are vegans looking for connection with these organizations. So Tania, I really, really appreciate all you're doing. I wish you the very best, and we'll make sure to put all the links to all of your sites and what you're doing in the show notes. And your final thoughts are?
That this is an amazing time to be working the vegan sector, and plant-based and vegan sector. And since launching my vegan career, I haven't looked back, and I'm not going back. There's no way I'm going back to being vegetarian. There is no way I'm going back to, doing a different job, because, we are successful because all of us in the organization are passionate vegans. It's only working because we have that, like-minded culture.
I love it. Well, thank you so much. And everybody, just go out and really explore the options available to you. Thank you for your time, Tania. This has been delightful. And I wish everybody a great day. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for your commitment to an ethical life through plant-based food choices. The kind of choices that are kind to your body, the environment, and most of all, animals. Be sure to leave a review and rating of the Plant-Based Eating for Health podcast show.